In this lessons episode, discover the entrepreneurial journey of turning setbacks into success in the hospitality industry. Learn how to create a winning formula for restaurants, build lasting partnerships, and balance hands-on management with strategic growth. Explore the importance of vibe, location, and systems in building a thriving business. Now you're starting to move into nightlife and hospitality. So
Yep.
you've jumped into like newspaper, you jumped into real estate, you jumped into newspapers. I don't even know where I would start if I had to figure out like how to go into hospitality. So what are the steps that you figured out that you could actually be
Yeah, so
successful
for
at this?
me, how I ended up getting into it, Scott, is remember I told you about that news that calendar that I did. And like I said, as juvenile as it may sound, it was a calendar where I featured 12 different women. Well, after that, I started a model management company, So for me, it was always how to get to the top and how to make the most money. All right. So it was producing a calendar and selling a calendar. Then, okay, well, I'm gonna manage these models and I'm gonna get them other gigs and make other money from that. All right. Then it's like, okay, with selling this calendar, how can I really get this calendar off? So I decided to have the models host nights at various different restaurants and lounges and nightclubs, and they would sell the calendar to different guys, that would come out, to these bars and clubs. Well, as I'm in the lounges and clubs and restaurants watching this being done, I'm seeing how busy, these venues are, and I'm like, hey, I want to be a bar owner. I want to be a club owner. I want to be a restaurant owner. This is where the money is. I'm just selling these little rinky dink calendars,
Yeah.
going home with a few $100s. Man, I wonder what this guy is making because it's 50 people in here, or it's 100 people in here. So that is what inspired me to want to open up my own spot. And I actually opened up my own spot at the age of 24. And that's
So young, but yeah.
it. No shit. It was a huge bus. I was relying on other people to kind of teach me the game. They didn't. I didn't get the right permits. Went ahead and opened up anyway. Grand opening, grand closing within 2 months. Lost my whole entire investment. Yep. So, so when I moved to Atlanta, my thought was, man, I'm not getting back into that. That was such a nightmare. I did so terrible. But I always thought, but it was fun, for the 2 months that was open. But man, I was terrible at this. I lost all this money, didn't know what I was doing. But once I moved here and after I started that party bus company, I got into promoting and just, throwing parties at, various lounges and things of that nature. And so then I'm right back in these lounges and these restaurants, and it's like making me curious as
Yeah.
to what it would be like to be a owner. And so eventually said, you know what, I'm gonna try this again. I was young, I did it wrong the first time. I learned some lessons from it. Let me try to take what I learned and turn that into something else. And so I ended up opening my first spot here in Atlanta. It was called the Hookah Hideaway, and it was wildly successful. Uh,
Can I ask why though? Like why was that one? Why was that one wildly successful? Like why did there's so many damn restaurants and they're all probably tough and the margins are tough. Like what makes that one successful? What was the secret?
uh, that one, I think, number one, I mean, I gave that spot my heart and soul. I was there every single day for the first 2 years. So I think when you have an owner that's dedicated like that, nobody is going to run your business the way that you would run it. So I think that played a big part of it to the location. It was just a really good location. It was a super small spot. When I tell you, Scott, this place was not even bigger than 1,200 square feet.
That's small.
But the good thing about it is that it allowed everybody to get to know everybody. So it was kind of like a Cheers neighborhood bar. It would definitely put you in the mind of it. Like you didn't even have to know anybody to go there. You were going to meet tons of people. We were able to kind of create a patio. And I mean, literally in the summertime, this place was just like a block party every single weekend. We were able to stay open after hours. We weren't necessarily supposed to, but we did, and we got away with it for 5 good years. But And we had some great food. I brought some stuff from some concepts from Nashville, as far as, Nashville has its hot chicken. At the time, that had not caught on nationally like it has now. And so we were selling hot chicken there, and that was a big hit. And I think also just, the hands-on that I had with that location. I hired every single person myself. And you just can't beat that when you have a owner that is running the spot themselves and willing to put in, that grit and that time. And I want to say, I think I was probably about 28 when I opened that spot up.
And that's the first time you ever were successful in hospitality, basically. So like now you're realizing your dream. So where does it go from there? So now you have one, you found like this like community place, like this like little hole in the wall, but you did a couple things that were obviously very good. You brought in good food, you created a vibe. Like eh, I feel like where a lot of people miss the mark on hospitality is they feel like they can copy and paste that, but then the copy and pasted version is shit. And then it's not the same and it's a different crowd, different. But you've done it like repeatedly now. So what's the formula you use to open the next one and the next one after that?
You know what? It's, you said something that's so important, a vibe, creating a good vibe, good music, good decor. Um, people love spots with patios, making sure that the food is good. The food has to be good. The customer service has to be good. And, first and foremost, you got to have a good location, because you can have all of those things, but if you've got a shitty location that's hard to find or hard to get to, or doesn't have any walk up traffic, or it's got terrible parking. Because I've made those mistakes before, even after that, in opening locations and picking a bad location, or just being so excited to do something, and just picking a location that, did not have those things. So that's really a big thing. And then, having those systems in place, hiring good people, treating those people right, paying them well, and making sure that you stay on top of them. And so now for me, because of what I did learn, working with Jeff with that newspaper, I just never turn over any of my businesses and put them in someone's hands. There's always something that has to go through me, and I never really just totally take my hands off of everything. I'm always looking at every single thing, all the numbers, all the bank accounts. And the more businesses I have, the more time consuming it is. And, but I've learned now the difference in now of me in that first restaurant and being there every single day. At that point, I was working in the business. Now I've learned to heavily work on the business versus working in the business.
They're just smart. But then how do you find those people that you can trust to work in the business for you?
You know what? With trust, that's something that's built and earned. And, I don't think anybody has the formula to be able to find people that you trust. You just hire people. And, you give them the opportunity to cut their own necks. You know what I'm saying? And when they do that, you got to move on. You've got to believe people when they show you who they are.
Yeah. No, I think the one thing that I've seen, like that is sort of a common thread, like, you've been screwed multiple times, which is never fun. But I think that the fact that you were screwed earlier on and you were like stolen from earlier on, that's probably what led to your success. Because then if you had one success and now the risk is much bigger, right? The money you can lose is not just in the tens of thousands and the hundred thousands and the millions when people can screw you over.
Yeah, for
So now like
for sure.
you know what I mean? Like you're looking at people different. It's smart though. It's smart. So now, what I actually found very interesting is you do so many different things. So like you're in hospitality, but you also, and tell me if you're still working on these things as well. So you have like a DHG University credit
Yeah.
repair. At one point in your life, you built an app. I think in 2015, you built an app called Girl Talk.
Yeah.
You have an impact foundation. You have a spa. Like you do everything, but now these things are like quite successful. So you have like an entrepreneurial eye and you go into something and it works. But I think a lot of it is like the vibe. It's a unique experience that you create. So as you're building out these things, um, talk to me even like it's interesting. You work with two chains on members only. Why work with two chains when you're already successful? Why do you need the star power? What's the play there? Is that something that you think would be useful, or is that you see that a lot with brands, but I've never seen it with like a restaurant?
I actually met 2 Chainz, about, maybe about 7 years ago now at this point, and I met him when I had the Hookah Hideaway, and so as I was telling you, the Hookah Hideaway was this super little small spot, 12 to 1,300 square feet. Nobody would even have guessed the amount of money that I was making at Hookah Hideaway because it was so small, and that's the difference too, when you are not already rich, when you're like the underdog, everybody wants you to be successful. Everybody wants to support you. Now, once you're already on top, it's just like people are trying to knock you down, and take you off of that throne. But anyways, long story short, after the Hookah Hideaway or while doing the Hookah Hideaway, I was probably in like the third year and it was like, hey, okay, I've got this formula down. This is working well. Let's duplicate this. And I want to do another location. And looking for another location, I ended up meeting 2 Chainz and we decided to do Escobar together. Escobar has by far been my most successful business to date. And that just ended up being a great partnership because I had the hospitality experience and, was willing to operate and run these stressful ass restaurants while he still was able to, go out there and be 2 Chainz, etc. But the notoriety that he had on a national, worldwide scale also attracted, some clientele for us, and some publicity, for us that I would not have been able to get on my own. So it ended up just being a good partnership in that aspect. We've gone on to actually open 4 restaurants together that we currently have. So we've got 2 Escobar locations. We do have members only that we're actually members only is currently closed and under renovation. We're actually renovating that and turning that into Esco Pizza. And then we have a concept called Esco Seafood. And so we have, been able to open up 4 restaurants, over the past 6 years. And we recently just franchised. Escobar as well. So, and working with somebody like 2 Chainz, it just was a no-brainer because he could bring something to the table that I could not at the time, and it was that star power.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you want to dive deeper into this conversation, check out the links in the description to watch the full episode. See you in the next one.